Here's the reason why you'd want to pull blood work. All the things that is now ways to well. I explain, you got to stop practicing sick care. We cannot wait for patients to get sick. What we need to do is get proactive and not reactive. How do we do that? We begin to do that by analyzing the patient at a biological level and identifying potential risk factors based off their markers. And maybe they don't have diabetes today, but if they're on the verge of diabetes, treat. Let's start now. Let's get ahead of it before they progress and the disease state or the hole gets too big that they have to dig out of. And doctors would say, okay, yeah, this makes sense. We'd start educating them on all the panels to pull. And for about 12 months, we got reimbursed. And then the insurances started sending letters to doctors saying, we don't think you should have pulled this blood work. If you continue to pull these extensive panels, we will put your contract under review.
Wow.
So if I'm a clinician and I lose Blue Cross Blue Shield, I'm out of business.
We will put your contract under review for taking proactive measures to keep people healthy.
For running up the cost of healthcare is what they will say. Like big insurance's narrative is this guy's running up the cost of healthcare, pulling unnecessary blood panels on a patient. You know, this guy's 33. Why did you pull a full panel? Well, again, that's why we ended up pivoting and doing ways to well and going cash pay and cutting out all these people, which we'll get into. But I mean, layer upon layer upon another example, pharmacogenetic test. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Most people fucking haven't. You know why? Insurance doesn't fucking cover it. So it's an amazing test. And we launched it. It's a cheek swab. You drop it in an envelope. Within 48 hours, we know your unique genetic makeup, what your cytochrome P450 variance is, and how you're going to metabolize a majority of the medications on the market, including high-risk medications like Plavix, that if somebody's a slow metabolizer, it could kill them. It had a black box warning. Like, we could go down the list of all the benefits of this pharmacogenetic test. And clinicians loved it. And they're like, oh my God, it tells me it'll tell somebody if an opioid won't work. Because certain outliers of the population have a unique genetic marker that makes their body incapable of properly processing an opioid and getting pain relief. And so we would say, test these patients before you write them these catastrophic medications. Like,
So this is a known variable, and it's not taken into consideration when they prescribe oxys?
Correct, yeah. And it's the test got covered by insurance for probably 12 to 18 months, and then insurance sent letters saying, we're no longer covering this. We're not going to cover these tests.
What happens to a person if they have that variant and then they do get prescribed opiates?
Well, they don't get relief. And so then the question becomes, is this patient drug seeking or is this patient just in pain, right? And that's part of what we were trying to clear up.
And do they just ramp up the dose?
Typically, they'll end up upping the dose, or they'll try and pivot and find something else.
What is a pivot? Like, how do you pivot when someone is not responding to the
that's
most
what's hard. And you know, like, in the pain field, they've got an array of tools in their tool belt. I was never a pain specialist.